Awesome. Let's get started then, man. I'm excited for this one. I've been looking forward to a while. Obviously, knowing about your Olympic journey in Pyeongchang and the medals you won, and it being the first for the Canadian in that length of a race in so many years. I think it was a special moment for the country to witness. So, man, I'm super appreciative of you coming on.
Thank you.
I like to start off these podcasts by asking the athletes, when you hear the word sports psychology, the mental side of sports, mental side of being an athlete, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
My mom saying it's all in the head when I was a kid. She would annoy me so much with it.
Yeah.
And at first it starts out just like, I understood like part of it. Like you need to get your head straight if you want to do a good race. But it wasn't until much, much later that I really started understanding like the depth of it and how many parts there is to it, kind of.
Yeah. You said your mom was drilling it into your head. Does she have any sporting background? It's kind of interesting for a parent to start drilling that into a child's head at such a young age. Obviously, it's beneficial, but it's not as common as.
No, she doesn't have a background in sport. It's just something she believed in.
Yeah. What was it about? I guess speed skating, I guess, is the official term of the sport. Is it or? Mm-hmm. Yeah, speed skating. What was it about speed skating that drew you to it? Obviously, growing up in Holland or the Netherlands, it being one of the most popular sports there, but internationally, it's probably not one of the more well-known sports. But what about it drew you to it?
My parents don't have like a background in a high level sport, but they always watched the races, speed skating, and whenever we could in the winters when it froze in Holland, you go out on the lakes and the canals and stuff, and you go skate. And that's what we would do, and so I kind of grew up with it, and just always been in love with the motion kind of speed. I think it's really, really beautiful, like kind of a dance motion.
It's blissful. It's really beautiful to watch. It's like it's kind of calming at the same time as it is intense for the athlete. I gotta feel like.
Yeah, it's really powerful because you're mostly using your body, like especially in the long distances, you're mostly using your body weight, not so much like working to get the speed, and you can gain so much speed and momentum out of that, and that's a really powerful feeling.
Yeah, and of course you've chosen some of the longer distances to compete in, the 5,000 and 10,000. In the middle of the race, what's going through your head? Because it's such a long race. I got to imagine maybe a million things are flowing through your head, but are you trying to focus on one thing? Do you really try and just clear your head of anything?
Yeah, it's usually like one or two things, and you try to block the rest out. Just acknowledge the thoughts and throw them out. Yeah. But bring the focus back on some key things that you thought of before the race, kind of. And and 5K, it's still kind of short. Like it's only 6 minutes. Like there's other sports where they do way longer.
Yeah.
You have to throw down some serious power. I mean, like it's fast distance nowadays.
Yeah.
But the 10K, you've got a little bit more time to think, but you also have to go fast. So halfway down the race, you're just so dead and you don't believe you're going to make it. But that's one of those thoughts that you got to like throw out. Like you just focus on your thing and keep doing what you're doing, and your technique is going to carry you through, kind of.
At what point in your career did the mental part of everything really start to click together? Obviously, like you said, it was kind of your mom was telling you about it at the beginning, but it's probably different from when it actually started to click in your head of how important it was, and really starting to undergo these mental exercises that we see athletes do to reach their full potential.
So it's one of the things that I think I really fixed once I moved to Canada and got into like a little bit more structured program with also an eye on the future. Because in Holland, like everything is so fast paced, and there's so many great athletes, so you have to perform right away. So there's not much attention to like, why is someone not performing? No, if you're not performing, they'll pick someone else. I started understanding a lot of those things like 5 years ago. It's not that long ago. Like I think I had to mature a bit, because I'm not very consistent for myself. I lose motivation and I get it back, and I'm just not consistent in my daily life, and I really had to work on that and fix that, and I never really acknowledged that before, and just went and did things and got distracted, and I think that's why before back in Holland I never made it.
Was it just the daily things that you're getting distracted by, whatever? Was it specific to speed skating, or was it just life in general?
Yeah, just life in general. I find that for me, I really need to be in a good space, like personally, and I need to have some confidence and trust in where I am in life. And if I'm always fighting for, let's say a spot on a team for next year, or my income for next year, that just stresses me out, and then I'm not in a good place mentally, and then I'm not going to be motivated to do my training, and then I'm going to be distracted by, I don't know, like going out and having nice dinners and eating a bag of chips, and
Well, I think the mood, I guess, of somebody in their personal life blends over so much in sports, and vice versa. I know I learn about this more and more as I speak to more athletes, that if you feel good in your personal life outside of your sport, you're going to perform well within your sport, and vice versa. If you don't feel well outside of your sport, you're not going to perform well inside your sport, because sports is really just one part of an athlete's life. Even though it's the part that most of us see, there's many other parts to your life where you kind of got to balance and make sure everything's in check so that you can be at your best when it's time to go skating.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. 100%.
Yeah. You mentioned leaving Netherlands for Canada, and there's two sides to it, I guess, the athletic sporting side to it, as well as the personal side to it, the actual life change that involves. And I have to imagine that wasn't just a split second decision you made. There was some time built up to making it. So when did that thought start creeping in your head of making the move from Netherlands to Canada?
It was really, I was for a few years already looking for, I knew that I needed to get more stable situation, so I could work on something for a couple of years and not just 1 year. It wasn't enough for me. I figured that out when I was like maybe 24 or something, 23, 24, but I never was able to find it in Holland. So when I was 27, I said, okay, like, this is enough. I'm not going to get there this way. This is not working for me. I'm not going to find my path in Holland. So yeah, then was a choice, like either quit or do something completely different. And I have the dual citizenship, so I have the option to skate for Canada. So I went and explored that option, and I got pretty positive feedback from Canada. So in the end, I figured I wasn't really happy where I was at, so I got nothing to lose. It's a cool adventure. Let's do it.
And yeah, I mean, it was a huge leap of faith, especially, obviously individual. When you look at it individually, you are the skater yourself and you're not really relying on other members. But from a team perspective, obviously Canada maybe wasn't as well known as the Netherlands. Of course, now more recently, like Canada has some really, really good skaters in their squad. But did that kind of be in your head at all? Kind of the fact that Canada maybe wasn't as well known or as prestigious country when it came to speed skating as Holland? Was that a difficult place to be in and to leave Holland?
For me that was kind of a pro, because there's a really good coach for starters, and their program always had a couple of good athletes. So I knew there was something good there. But the thing that was important to me was that I would have a team where I could work on something for a couple of years, and I was gonna be on the national team in Canada, and there's only one team, so it's, that was easy. So that's what kind of made it a good decision for me, I think.
Okay, talk to me a bit about the impact to your personal life making such a switch, moving from your home country to Canada. And I think I was listening to one of the videos from the CBC network that you and your wife hadn't really known each other for that long. And I think she came over with you from Netherlands to Canada. Is that correct?
Eventually she did. Yeah. Eventually. Yeah. Like you said, we only knew each other for a couple of months. And we were totally gonna break up. Like I wasn't gonna ask her to move to Canada with me. But yeah, like I think the day before I left, she said like I don't want to break up. I want and yeah, we talked about it, and she decided to come over. I think it was 3 months later. She came over for a couple of weeks to see how she felt about it, see how she felt about me, and then after that, another 3 months later, she actually moved to Canada as well. So and now we're married, and we have a nice home. We have a dog and a baby.
Awesome.
And it's crazy how it all turned out.
You probably would have never expected this path in your life, say 10 years ago when you were 20, 21. Probably never could have expected this.
Man, it's unbelievable. It's a fairy tale.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest life adjustments that you had to make? Maybe things that were used to going on in Holland that don't occur in Canada day to day, just day to day. Did your life, was it a drastic change? Or were you able to kind of keep it consistently what it looked like back in Europe?
It's funny you mentioned the word consistent because that's there's not as much going on anymore, because like your whole background, all your family and your friends, they're not there anymore, and for me there was only speed skating at that point. So that for a start made me a lot more consistent actually. But for me, just a group of people that I got to know here really quickly, that they were just such a good group of people, and that I was lucky enough to work with, and that made it so easy. So yeah, for me the only thing that was a little bit harder was just missing my family and friends.
Yeah,
and that kind of goes away a little bit, and then after like 3-4 years it started coming back, because then like you talk to them and the big parts of their life change, and you're not really there to witness it and to be with them. So and then you miss them again.
Yeah. But it's obviously such a huge sacrifice making that life change. But I think as an athlete, there's a certain level of sacrifice that goes into doing it, which I really try and bring to the forefront with this podcast, is having people understand that when you watch an athlete compete on TV, no matter the sport or event that it is, you see that 10, 15 minutes, maybe even 15 seconds of glory that they have, but you don't see the hours, the weeks, the months, and the years of sacrifice that go on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's just the tip of the iceberg, eh?
Yeah,
it's such a journey to get there. It's definitely a lifetime project. Or I guess not a lifetime, because how long can you be an athlete for? Maybe 35 or something, 40.
Yeah. But I think even you yourself is a really good example that people have different peaks as athletes. You making your Olympic debut at the age of, I think it was 31, right? Was 2018 your first Olympics? Sorry. Yeah, and you having the success you did, of course, gold and silver. We can go into the feelings behind that in a bit. But you making your Olympics at the age of 31, I think some people out there, they have the perspective that if they don't reach the peak of their game when they're 18, 20, or 22, whatever, that they should just quit, and they're never going to get there. But I think you are a really, really good example of persistent practice and consistent practice, and making that switch at 27 to Canada, having all this success in your 30s. I mean, age is just a number. It's cliche, but I think it's so true. So true for athletes to understand that it's almost really never too late as long as you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah. And I think you need something in your head to keep you going, right? Like if I was on the ice, even when I was younger, I always had this feeling like I can do something crazy here. I have this feeling with this ice that this is what I do. This is what I can do.
Yeah.
And I just always kept believing in that.
Yeah, man, that's so inspirational. I mentioned the gold and silver medals at Pyeongchang in 2018. Obviously, such a monumental moment for not only yourself but for Canada speed skating and I think Canadian athletics in general. Going into the Olympics, was that your expectation? Was that your goal? Like, what, with it being your first Olympics, walk me through a bit your mindset heading in and your expectations for those races.
Yeah, I've been working for 4 years on my consistency mostly, and then after a while, I started really believing in myself, and because I started like seeing the results of that consistency and in training, and then in the end of 2015, I skated a world record in the 10 kilometers, and that's what really made it real to me. Like, okay, I have a shot in 2 years from now, and I better make the most of it and show my best race ever right there. And that's been my focus, just getting a clear picture of what the Olympics is going to be like, because it's an event like no other. And I had never done it before, so it was going to be my first time. I had one shot, is the way I saw it.
Yeah. That's got to be such like for me at least, if I were in your shoes, I feel so much pressure working for 4 years, working my whole life for this moment, and you really only have 12 minutes to show it to the world.
Yeah, and it's also I was going to be 31, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe when I'm 35, maybe I'm not good enough anymore. So yeah, it's just one shot, so I have to make it count.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I just made sure that I had a super good plan, and I just stuck to that plan when I was there, and I believed I could do it, but I never really thought about actually like what would happen if I did it. Yeah. So when I actually won that race, I bursted out crying because I just hadn't thought about that, and then I suddenly realized that, oh man, this just happened.
Yeah, especially with the records that you set as well, and you continue to set in the medals, you continue to win. It's such an amazing journey, and hats off to you, man. It's so beautiful to see.
Thanks.
When you were at the Olympics, obviously many Dutch skaters there as well. Were any of your ex-teammates when you were maybe growing up in Holland, were they there as well? Any ex-teammates you competed against?
Yeah. Actually, the guy that got second is a former teammate of mine.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to think about it a little because I've had so many teammates. I like in the 8 years that I've been in the senior races, kind of, I've been on 6 different teams. So
yeah.
Yeah, that is. I've been on the team with a lot of Dutch skaters.
What was it like? Was there any added pressure did you feel, or was it ever cross your mind? I don't want to say revenge, but showing up in front of the Dutch team, where you maybe didn't feel like you weren't good enough for, or something, or a team you had to leave to find other success. Did that ever cross your mind, or do you try and really just block all that out and just focus on Canada?
Well, in a way, yes. The last thing up there, but I think in speed skating, Holland's always so dominant. So yeah. So even without me having like some kind of revenge feeling or whatever, you want to beat the Dutch, right? Yeah.
It's like beating Canada in hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was just mostly focused on winning that medal.
Yeah, I think that's so important to just have that focus. And the reason I brought that up is because you read countless stories, no matter the sports, no matter the level of the sport as well, where athletes, they're released from a certain team, and they try and get revenge against that team. Oh, like you guys messed up by releasing me or whatever. And I think for a lot of some cases it may work, but I think for a lot of cases it's the wrong type of motivation. It's almost like negative motivation, right? There's a podcast I had, can't remember the name of the person. I gotta look it up. But a guest that I had on, and he talked about the difference between inspiration and motivation, and almost looking at things as inspiration more positively and motivation not negatively. So, again, just a lesson I like to drill into the heads of younger athletes out there is find that positive motivation, not that negative motivation.
Yeah. Another aspect that comes to mind here for me was that. Like before I made the switch, I really thought about why I had failed in Holland, kind of, and why, because there's so many skaters that found a way to the top in the Dutch system, right? And I couldn't do it. So I thought about it a lot, and I didn't want to make the same mistakes. I had a really clear picture in my head of why I failed. So I blame myself mostly. I wasn't out for revenge because I didn't blame them.
Yeah. What were some of those mistakes that you had noticed?
I think I hadn't been a good enough team player is the main reason, I think, because it's an individual sport, of course, but like to get better, you always make more progression if you work together. So if you're doing everything alone and you're fighting everyone around you, then you're not going to make as much progression as when you work together and you make some concessions, kind of. Yeah. And I wasn't willing to make those. I wanted things going my way.
Yeah. It's a tricky dynamic because you're all part of the Dutch team. You're all part of the Canadian team, whatever country it is. You're all part of a team together representing the same country, but there's limited spots. So you're kind of competing against each other while working together at the same time. And it's tricky, and people figured out that dynamic at different stages as well. You figuring out this mistake that could have hindered your progress later on, how hard is it? Like, do you ever sometimes look back with regret? Because I think for a lot of athletes, they would tend to look back at things with regret and really beat themselves up for mistakes they made in the past, and it's hard for them to get over it.
Yeah, it's like some things I find hard to get over, like, but this is not really one of them. Like that's in the past, and whenever you take a lesson from something, I don't think you can regret it really. Like it's like once you've learned from something, then it's been worth it, right?
Right. And a little bit on that train of thought. Something that I kind of do in my 9-to-5 job, I guess I tell a lot of the people I work with, like if we try something, it doesn't work out, don't focus on it not working out. Focus on, okay, we're one step closer on finding what does work. It's although I think perspective is so huge in today's world, especially in sports, where something negative happens, you can look at it pessimistically or optimistically, right? And I think, again, it contributes so much to someone's just overall mood. And we talked about it at the beginning, where when you're feeling like you're good in your personal life and everything going around, it shows on the ice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's why, I got to think about it, because I'm struggling right now with the whole situation. I don't know if you've been following the news around this, but in our program here in Calgary, depends a lot of the oval that's here, right? That's where we do all our training, and it's broken down right now, and it's not going to be fixed until February.
Wow.
So we got to prepare for our season without skating for now.
It's hard to do. It's like asking a hockey player to get ready for hockey season without playing hockey.
Yeah, and then traveling is really difficult too right now.
Yeah.
So we're still looking at the options to go skate soon, hopefully somewhere else in Canada. But the traveling is really difficult right now with the whole Corona situation. So that's been very difficult for me lately. That's
crazy. I guess I should ask, when is your season slated to start?
It got delayed. The first World Cups that were supposed to happen November, December got canceled. So
okay.
hopefully January we can start doing some races. But
yeah. I mean, it's got to be. I think if I were in your shoes, that would be on my mind 24/7, not being able to train, right? And it's probably part of your daily routine, going out to the ice and doing a couple laps.
Yeah.
And for that being taken away so abruptly, it's I got to imagine it was hard for you to kind of transition out of that a bit.
Yeah. For me, like I just love skating. I love the technique of it. I love the feel of it. And that's what I like to do. And then so the summer training, like in the summer we have a period where we don't skate. For me, it's just like, it's a couple of months of summer training, and you set your mind to it, and we need to do it, need to work hard so that I'm fresh for the season. Mm-hmm. So you just do that, and then you can skate again, and then you can do the training that you love to do. Mm-hmm. But now, we got through those 4 months. We got a couple weeks of ice, and then got back into another period where we can skate on ice. So it's that messes with my head a lot.
What are you able to do in the meantime to keep your body or your mind sharp while you're waiting for repairs or waiting for a new practice location?
So we can train a lot still. Like we can do training on the bike, whether it's indoors or outdoors, and there's a lot of dry land training that's really important too for speed skating. So we're doing a little bit extra focus on that. And then there's a short track that we can still do on the smaller rinks. Work on the corners a little bit, get some feel with the ice at least. Some different skates, but yeah. And we can inline. There's no ice at the oval now, so we use it as an inline track.
Oh wow. That's awesome. I mean, it's a perfect example of just working with what you got. Yeah. I mean, it's just the situation that's presented itself. And I think for people that are in similar situations, no matter the level of sport they're in, of course, something like this happens, you can either sulk about it, be sad. I think there's room to be sad and be upset and angry and everything. But then there's a point in time where you got to be like, okay, this is what the situation is, and how can we make the best out of it? And I think that's where the athletes that are truly mentally, prepared, truly have that strong mental game, that's where they succeed, because they're able to take the time they need to vent, reflect, be emotional, whatever it is, but then they're able to get back on track and get on with their training.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to do. And the way I feel about it now is that I've got better days and worse days. It's just one day you're able to just kind of block it out, do your thing, and then the other day you're just really annoyed and, and you start thinking about it too much. Yeah.
I like to end off these podcasts by doing the kind of a little quote game where I get you to randomly pick a quote, a sports psychology quote, and reflect on it based on your career. But before that, I wanted to talk about a quote that I heard you say as I was researching before this podcast on a video on YouTube. I think, again, it was from CBC. After your gold medal race, you had said, you need to be a little bit different to be a race winner. And you thought that you were a little bit different than, I guess, other speed skaters out there. Do you remember saying that quote, or can you think of ways that you may be a little bit different in order to get the success that you've had?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure when I said that, but it's definitely something I believe in. Yeah. If you do the same as everybody else, how are you going to be better, right? Yeah. And I think I've proved that I'm a little bit different. Like if you hear Dutch people talk about me on the Dutch TV or whatever, they think I'm weird. But
weird in what way?
It's weird because I'm more aware of it now. But
what ways do you feel like you are different than maybe Dutch speed skaters? Why they think you're weird or a little bit different? Weird, I put in quotation marks.
Oof. I'm not sure. I got to think about that. I think I'm maybe my mindset is not really like a diehard athlete. Like I mean, I want to win, but for me, like other things are important too. I like family and friends
having fun as well.
Having fun, yeah. Those things are really important to me. So I'm not maybe not as ruthless as, but well, when it comes down to it and I'm on the line, then I'm going to kill you. But
yeah. I think it just speaks to that everybody has different balance of, competitiveness and relaxation, anxiety and calmness. There's that balance is different for everybody, right? And so your balance is different than another athlete's. I'm sure you see it on the team where the Canadian speed skating team, they have different, ruthless aggression emotions, I guess is any way to put it. But I think it just speaks to everybody is different. Everybody has a different equilibrium. The reason I bring that up is because I think a lot of athletes, they see their idol, a certain athlete that has a lot of success, act a certain way, and they try and emulate that as much as they can, even if it's not truly who they are as a person or as an athlete. And I think it's a hard thing to do. Obviously, it's not something people can do overnight, but I think athletes really start to A, have the most fun, and B, have the most success when they're just who they are and what makes them the most happy and what works the best for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I wanted to do the little quote game here. So I'll get you to pick a number between 1 and 23. So I have a collection of 23 quotes here. So we'll just go through one of them, but I'll get you to pick a number and then I'll read you the quote and then just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the quote and maybe a time in your career where it kind of rings true what the quote says.
Sure. 23.
23.
It's my daughter's birthday.
Yeah. This is a good one. This is from Kobe Bryant. Everybody knows, of course, Kobe Bryant is. Rest in peace to Kobe. He said, it's not about the number of hours you practice. It's about the number of hours your mind is present during the practice.
That's something I would say we call a deliberate practice. And it's, I mean, I've talked about it a lot with my coach. It seemed that the program was working better for me than for the rest of the team when we were at the Olympics, kind of like the Olympic season. And I was really making a lot of progression and the rest of the team was getting there, but not as dramatic as I was doing, kind of. And we talked about it a lot. And I think that's what kind of set me apart, is that I was always working on something when I was training. And I think that's so important that when we do dryland training, for example, like with every imitation that we do, I would connect it somehow in my mind to a part of the speed skating technique, and I would bring that to ice, and I would connect all those things. And I think it's really important to just know what you're doing and why you're doing things, because it just helps you pinpoint those training cues.
I love how you said deliberate practice. I think that's a really good way of putting it, because it's a bit of a generalization maybe, but you can have an athlete where they're in the gym 24/7, but they're just working on a whole bunch of random stuff, not really deliberately working on the things that are specific to their sport or for something. Yeah. And of course, not going to make as much gains or have as much, realize as much of that potential as they could, than an athlete that could spend maybe 25% of the time in the gym, but it's a deliberate time in the gym. It's super structured. They know exactly what they're doing. I think deliberate practice is a really good takeaway point for any athlete or even any person, because, sports psychology concepts aren't limited just to sports or limited to anybody in the world. I mean, could be deliberate practice in work, could be deliberate practice in family, whatever it is.
I think whatever you do, if you're really focused on what you're doing, you're going to do it better.
Yeah. I think that's an awesome takeaway for people to take home as we kind of wrap this up, Ted. I super appreciate you coming on, man. Again, it was a thrill to watch the races in Pyeongchang and to watch some of the World Championship races as well. And obviously not the best of situations with the oval being kind of under repair, I guess, at the moment. But I think the future for Canadian speed skating is looking bright. So I'm excited to see you and the team compete in competitions, World Championships, and Olympics for years to come.
Yeah, no, I was happy to have this conversation with you. And I've been listening to a couple of your podcasts lately, and I've been in a bad state mentally a little bit, and it really helped focusing in on the mental side of sport a little bit by listening to your podcast. So it was good to put some focus on that for myself. So thanks for doing what you do.
Awesome, man. I'll speak to you again soon. Take care.
Bye.